Duty calls, right? Started doing a video, and of course we got a phone call, which I will not complain. Although sometimes organizing our phone calls out here is more difficult than you think. We on average, our busy time of year, a couple hundred, 200 to 300 is a pretty good day, sometimes even more than that. This is actually our slower time of year, and we're still pumping, I would say, over 100, which, you know, it may not sound like a lot compared to maybe what a big call center or a big corporation, but for one or two people, I assure you it is emotionally draining. And not is because it's bad, it's just, you know, there's just a lot going on. So anyway, you didn't come here to listen to that or look at the ground. 303-666-9020, partsbreakers.com. I'm doing a video today, probably unnecessary in some ways. Customer called looking for some belt rails for an LJ, which we don't have, and actually we don't even cut our LJs up, and we won't even buy them if they're damaged beyond doing anything with, because they're so expensive to buy as is. So a lot of times when you see kind of the rare, if you're ever looking for something that's you know, kind of one-offs, or they only did for a couple of years, you'll see let's see, Rubicons are that way, LJs, and I'm not going to go over them all, but those are the two ones that come to mind. And again, we kind of, when we buy those, really seek ones that are pretty much off the road, you know, and hopefully we can get a price advantage on them because maybe a mechanical issue, but we stay away from the rust, and again, any kind of damage. Now, TJs are something else. We don't buy a lot of wrecks even on those, but they're more apt too. So customer called and wanted some belt rails for an LJ. Again, we didn't have those, but was okay with possibly using a TJ. And I do have, out of all these tubs, there's probably, I don't know, probably 15, 16 tubs that we're finally getting down to bare tubs. We got 9 going out next week to the East Coast. But anyway, there's only 2 that we can cut. So I'm gonna show you kind of what you're gonna be getting. And this is not one, I don't even know if this one's gonna work, because this is, again, why I do videos. I haven't been back here and I don't look at these tubs all that often. So this one's damaged here, so this probably won't work for you on this, but it may work for the rest of it, because the rest of it looks really good shape, at least through here. It's got a little bit of a ding right there, but that looks pretty manageable. And because we're a little bit limited now, that one there I'll have to flip up. I won't be able to do without the forklift. There's a tub right next to it, but that is a possibility for one, at least maybe for the length that we're looking for. Probably not one of the actual sides, corners. This one here, I believe, is another one we're cutting. I think this one's got damage on this tub, but let me double check it, because it might not. Maybe not. Okay, I had a color like this out here. This might be okay. Oh, there it is, yeah. So it's damaged here. And again, this may be low enough that it didn't affect this. Doesn't feel like it's up into the belt rail. Actually feels pretty good. So that's probably one there. And then that guy looks good there. So I'd say those 2 there, and then maybe some of that one on that side that's not damaged for the rest of it, or vice versa. Now, I could have swore we had another one like this one, this color, that was out here. But as you can see, we just, when I emphasize this, and sometimes people are like, oh yeah, that's what everybody says, you know, nobody buys wrecks, nobody buys, but we really do go after the ones that are not damaged and don't come in wrecked. This one is one that got a belt rail cut on it that I could definitely cut the other side on, and it's clean. So we got this one here. We actually bought this one from a yard, and they had already done this. Otherwise I wouldn't have done it, because it was a good tub, but they had damaged it in some other places. But good floors still on this one. We got a little bit left out it to get some stuff on it that we can cut up, and like I said, we don't cut them very often. So there it is. So that was the one I was thinking of, but that one's obviously been way more cut, so only a little part of that one left. And that's it. This one may be able to be cut. I can't remember. There was one of these that actually sold. This is what we don't like to see when you get rust like that. And really for us, no, this one's a scrap one. So that could have been, if it hadn't been for these collapsed torque pockets, this tub would have been sellable even with the damage at the rear. It would have been a low grade C because it's actually major damage, meaning that, you know, when we consider major, body shop usually requires somebody that knows body work. And that would have been fine, but because these are actually not even, they're bad, obviously, they're fully collapsed almost, but the bolts came out of them surprisingly both sides. Oh, excuse me. So anyway, that should take care of that. I'll send this off to you, and then if you need anything else, let's just go over and take a quick gander real quick at roll bars. I looked the other day because I think you might have messaged, and we had one a couple weeks ago, but I thought it was still sitting out here. But I went out to California not too long ago and did a delivery and pickup trip, and it must have got sold then, but we will just double check. I was up on the forklift and I looked. We do have lots of roll bars. The ones that are kind of the unusual ones go quick. The LJs and the family style YJs and whatnot, and CJ roll bars, although I do have a couple of those right now. So LJs are pretty easy to look fine because they're just slightly long. Ooh, you know what? There might be one there. Guys, I think we're in luck. That's why it's always good to look. There's it. There it is. There's a white one. So we do have it. And when I was up on the forklift, it must have just blended in. So that's great. I'm glad I came back and looked. So we had an orange one too. So that one's obviously gone. I don't see orange at all. But we do have a white one, and it looks like it's in great shape. The feet look good on it. It doesn't look like there's any rust or bends or anything. So nice and straight. All right, well, I'll send this off to you. And if you have any other, we'll get it obviously out of this area. Keep in mind something on this roll bar. I want to show you real quick on a regular TJ. Not all TJs did this. Okay, you see this bolt here? They still did like this weird, almost like it's not like a weld, it's like a silicone, it's a hardened weld. It's kind of weird. It's not like metal weld. But anyway, the reason I say that is because, look at this one here, it's been fully, so like here's a TJ one. You can pull this guy and I can separate these down, and it makes them so we can ship them a lot easier, a lot cheaper for you. We do not mark our shipping up whatsoever. You pay exactly what we pay. This one you can do as well. You have to cut this, which we usually do, just pull them apart, and then somebody can, in some cases they never weld them, in some cases they did. They can either tack them back up or just use the bolts. But there's a lot of them on the later years, and that LJ is that way, where I don't think they did. Did they do bolts on this one? No. So there's a couple ways that we can go about this. I'm going to tell you right now, I'll give you forewarning, that freight companies do not like big, light items. They like big, heavy items, or normal size, heavy items. The way they package their trucks and load their trucks. I don't know why it's like this, but they call it a dimensional quote. Anytime it's the dimensions of it far out or exceed the overall weight, which would be in this case because this thing's really light. So you can choose. We can do it that way. We can run a quote and see what it costs. But more than likely, we're going to be quite a bit more if you allow us to cut. And when I say cut, I'm being very careful, obviously. There's a tool I use, not just like a grinder, and just break these welds. It take a little bit of time, so there's a little bit of a charge to do it. But we can separate these and essentially just kind of spin them to where they break free. if we can do that on both sides here and break this guy down, put it on a pallet, and lay this thing on, band it that way, especially if we're doing some belt rails, if we do belt rails, that would be, it's significant. Like, it can take a roll bar that costs $500 on a freight company down to normal freight. The other option we have too is, I believe you're in Phoenix or Arizona somewhere. The last one we shipped was in Florida, and it was pretty spendy, but down there it shouldn't be too much. It might be even less than that, regardless of which way we go. But the other option that we do with roll bars oftentimes is I'll just put them up on a hot shot crew. The only thing with hot shots and something like this is that to get them cheap, you know, $100 $200 to get them freighted wise or hot shot wise, we just usually have to have some flexibility with time. It's not like a rush thing. If it is a rush thing, then I'd say we go with a freight company. If it's not a rush thing, then I'd say we do a hot shot. I lucked out a few weeks ago. One of our good customers down in Texas, Marquette, Texas, he wanted basically front clip up a TJ, so hoods, fenders, grills, that stuff. And again, big item, right? You get a front clip together. Hoods are really expensive to ship, and they almost always damage them freight, so I didn't want that to happen. So same thing, I said, hey, let's see if we can get it for like $300. Now that's quite a distance, well, a lot further than Phoenix was, and couldn't get anybody, but we bumped it up $100, so $400 now, and somebody picked it up and they had it delivered in 2 days. So it actually worked out really well, and he was super happy. I was a little annoyed with them. Hot shots are awesome. I love them to pieces. We have our own crews we use, but they showed up at like 10:30 at his house at night, which they had pre-planned, thank God, because we got a call, we're an hour behind, at 9:30, and I'm going, Jim's not going to be even awake right now. Like, you know, he's an old guy. I thought, luckily he was having his son's birthday, and anyway, long story short, they it all worked out. But I was thinking, oh man, and that's the one thing that, you know, they're good at communicating, but if they can drop off at night, they'll ask you, hey, how late can we get there? How early can we be there? Because that's how they make their money, and that's how they stay cheaper, and they just route themselves out. So, okay, this is the yard. I did a full update yesterday for the East Coast trip coming up. As far as where I'm heading after that, there's usually a southern trip. I just came back from LA a few weeks ago, Vegas. Probably will have another one of those come November-ish, maybe October. I know we have St. George coming up, some things, and we usually incorporate at least Vegas into that. I always try to do Arizona, but that's usually first part of the year, so it would be a while before I get down. I could say potentially next few months, but it could be January before we make it down there. And so I wouldn't count on that. All right. Sorry, I've found out last week I have been a little anemic for the last year, and it makes me extremely tired, and especially in the sun. So, all right, that's it. 303-666-9020, partsbreakers.com. Thanks for hanging out with me for about 15 minutes today, and hopefully that answers questions. If you like one particular one, or maybe you're not, I always say this, you know, we make these videos usually because somebody calls, not really requesting a video, but like I said, it does a better job of it. In my opinion, you get exactly what so if you're standing here next to me, it gives you the opportunity to be in this yard without being in this yard. And if you're not the customer, then that's cool too. That's part of the reason we put these up, right? So you might have another project that you're doing that's similar, or something else that I walked by and seen. So feel free to give us a call. And if you happen to be on that I-70, 76, I-80, I-90, and then up to some highways I've been on, but don't really remember my name, up in the upper northeast, call us, do it sooner than later. We always have hot shots going out, but it's always kind of a unique opportunity for me to take it to you. And I'm going to be leaving next week. I don't know exactly what day, but it is going to be next week. Right now I'm just waiting on some parts for the truck. Once I get that up and going, I'm going to be loading and I'm getting out of here. So, all right, thanks guys.